Steve Siebold is a certified financial educator, and his latest book, called How Money Works, has over 300,000 copies in print circulating the globe.
And for good reason. One of the problems that many couples face is simply not seeing eye to eye when it comes to finances. And Steve joins us now to discuss his new book and share some tips on how to work through financial issues. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. You know, Steve, one of the tips that you have in your book is to talk it out. And what I found is that my husband and I come from very different backgrounds when it comes to money. So is it important to kind of dive into your partner's past and figure out and understand how their relationship to money has been formed?
Definitely. It really helps to talk through these things because, you know, everyone's raised with different beliefs and philosophies about money, and they tend to be strong feelings on either side. And so, yeah, talking out's communicating about money is a really important thing to reduce the tension, obviously, between a couple.
Why is it that you say pick your battles when it comes to finances?
Well, I guess this is probably good couple advice no matter what, but I would say something like a small expenditure maybe that someone makes on Amazon or something like that when they're drinking too much wine. You might want to let that one go, but something big that is going to negatively impact your financial future as a couple, then I think that, you know, that's worth fighting for, but maybe let the little things go. So pick your battles.
This is also a great tip, Steve, to actually dedicate some money just for fun. We don't often do that, especially when, you know, we're trying to make the bills, especially over this last year. So what kinds of things are you talking about when you say just for fun?
Well, I think experiences. I mean, I think one of the things that I hear all the time from people, at least, I don't know about y'all, but people are saying, you know, the shutdown has taught us all a lot about how material things don't matter as much as maybe we thought they once did. And it's more about experiencing things. And I think as a couple, you know, experiences create memories. So put money aside for experiences as opposed to spending them on maybe the material things that we used to think were more important than they actually are.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because our director, Chip, he says that without him, there'd be no fun. Without his wife, there'd be no money.
Nah.
And she's the Minister of Finance, so I think he's a wise, wise man.
Definitely. Absolutely. There's got to be a balance there somewhere. And if you get one conservative person with money in the relationship and then one person that's not as conservative, that usually is a good balance. The problem is when you have two people that are more spenders than savers, and that could certainly be an issue.
Yeah, the yin and the yang of finance. I like it.
Yes, but the problem that I've actually run into is that, you know, the pressure, the money and financial pressures have fallen on me, you know, where my husband is the more fun one and I'm the more conservative one. So it is really important, Steve, right, to meet somewhere in the middle so that the one person doesn't take the brunt of that pressure.
Definitely. I mean, I'm in the same position. My wife she always says she's the bad guy. Because I'm like, hey, let's go do this. She's like, well, let's look at the numbers first. I'm like, let's not.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think you have to kind of, you know, meet in the middle somewhere to make sure you're on the same page. And I think as long as you're making decisions as we instead of I, that probably is the thing that which side you fall on, whether conservative or more aggressive with your money, as long as you're doing it as a couple, I think you're in a better position.
And that leads us to something that you say, never make it me versus you. How do we make it so that we're all on the same page and on the same team?
Well, I think it's so important, again, because our beliefs and the things we've been raised with about money are so different usually that I think it's got to be this is our money as opposed to my money or your money. I think that makes a really big difference because, you know, you can spend money on things and all of a sudden you think, well, let's go ahead and take that trip. And then we all know what happens sometimes. All of a sudden you hit a big bill or the refrigerator breaks down or some expense comes up. And then you think, well, that was pretty dumb. We shouldn't have done that. At least you're working as a unit, as a couple, as opposed to an individual that would say, hey, you're the one that talked us into, you know, to doing this, and it's your responsibility. So I think, again, operating as a couple.
Steve, why is it that money is so intertwined with our emotions all the time? I mean, it really, one of your tips is to leave your emotions out of it. So give us some advice when it comes to that, please.
Well, I just think the society teaches us, especially in America, it's not like this all over the world, and not in my experience anyway, but there's so many things taught about money. I think we're taught in this country success-oriented country, really, to think money means more than it actually does. It's just a medium of exchange. It doesn't make us any better or any worse, whether we're rich, poor, or in between. It's certainly a helpful thing in life. I get that. But it doesn't mean anything except as a medium of exchange. And I think when we blend our emotions into it, we start thinking it means more than it actually does.
It's funny, I feel like the wives always feel like they're the most emotional and they have the brunt of all of the financial responsibility. Why is that? Why does it seem that way, Steve?
I just think women have a tougher life. You guys just have it tougher.
Yes.
Right? You're the moms,
Yes.
you're the wives, you're the people that really keep society together. And I think, you know, families certainly together on a micro level, and society together on a macro level. And I really do think you guys get the brunt of it, all seriousness, and it's in the money as well. And I've been married for 36 years, and I find myself doing that with my wife, too. Just not purposely, but just sort of as a default, you know, mechanism. So I think women just have it tougher in general.
Steve, you're saying all the right things, and I think your book is a very important read, so thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, ladies. I appreciate it.
Get your hands on a copy of Steve's book, How Money Works, wherever books are sold.
In Daytime, we'll be right back.